This is a commuter city, so you're most likely going to be doing a lot of walking. Most people here, I feel, are wearing sneakers a lot of the time. I just don't recommend sightseeing in uncomfortable shoes. Like, that's just going to make your whole experience miserable. If you want to go out for the night, that's probably when I would wear my nicer shoes, just because I don't have to like walk in them as much. With sandals, I would be careful because there's so much garbage here and grossness. Strange liquids. There's also piles of garbage you're gonna be walking past that sometimes have rats in them. That's why I don't really like wearing certain kinds of shoes. I like having some sort of barrier. It makes me feel better or more protected against the grossness. There is no getting around taking the train. It's probably gonna be like your #1 mode of transportation. It's sometimes faster than if you would take a cab, for instance, because the traffic here can be very intense. Make sure you download the apps. CityMapper is really good because it shows you like where to sit on the train, like the front, back, or middle. I usually use that or Google Maps. You can pay with your phone or a Metro card. If you sign up for OMNY, they have like a weekly fare cap, so after a certain amount of rides, it's unlimited. Don't forget transfers. That's another way you can get a free ride. The bus is super handy and there's so many of them. I have a video on it, but it is truly such a helpful tool, especially if you're going cross town, because I hate walking in the avenues. I never walk them, especially in summertime. I'm like, oh god, no. They're also a great way to cut through Central Park if you're visiting any of the museums up there, and there's always a bus stop along the museum, so you're gonna find something that will take you where you need to go. For the yellow cab, when the light is on, that's how you know it's empty. I usually save like my cab money towards nights where I know I'm gonna be drinking, because I usually don't like taking the train home after I've had a certain amount of alcohol in me. There's like a very fine line for me from being like good and like, oh god. Another thing I would do would be to take the train halfway and then catch a cab from there, because then it'd be a little cheaper. There's also a city bike. I honestly have never ridden one. Always pee before you get on the train. Very important, okay? Because sometimes the train stalls and you don't know how long it's gonna like stay there for. Once I was on the train and I think it stopped for maybe like 15 minutes, and this guy goes in between the cars because I guess he had to pee. He comes back, sits down, and the guy that was sitting across from him was a cop and he took him off the train. I can't believe that happened to him. If you do have to pee, that is something you can do. Another time I was coming home from work and it was like 2 a.m. The train was stuck for like a fucking hour. Underground, it was awful. But that's like a thing that can happen. If you're uncomfortable, always change your seat. It's kind of crazy like how each train car is different. And just move into one that you feel better in, because it's not worth it, especially if you got a long ride and this person is just like straight up making you feel funny. Just go somewhere different. You want to be in the subway car with people who are not making you feel that way. If you're closer to the door, it is definitely easier for someone to rob you, like to snatch your phone or something that you have and then run away. Because then the train door closes and not much you can do. I'm pretty cautious about my stuff. That's just like who I am, because I have been robbed before. I was robbed not in New York. I actually was robbed in Barcelona. Not a fun day. It was really awful. Oh gosh. Just never underestimate what life has to throw at you. Like, if you're going to do nightlife, be very careful, because I have worked in bars where customers came up to me and telling me that they got robbed, and the staff isn't there to babysit your stuff either. Just be aware of your surroundings. I feel like this is basic survival stuff. You know, if you want to look at something, pull off to the side. Just like how you wouldn't stop in the middle of the highway to look at something, like don't do that on the sidewalk. Step into a store even if you don't want to look like a tourist. Golden rule of thumb is to always just stay where there are people. In the summertime, if you do have a long ride, the AC is really intense and it can get really cold in there. So I do recommend like maybe having something to wear if you do get cold. Sometimes the AC is broken. That's also when I would change cars, just to see if it's like the whole train or just that one car. The thing about New York is that's very difficult to live here, and that sometimes can affect the people that live here and make them also difficult. That's why you can't really take things too personally, because you don't know what people are going through. I just try to keep it moving, especially if you're gonna be doing a lot of activities and eating out. It can add up so fast. Because of how expensive it is here, there are so many free things that don't cost money. So make sure to like throw some of that stuff in there too. New York has so much variety because you're exposed to so much that. It kind of broadens your horizon. This is the place to kind of do things that you normally wouldn't really do. That's what I like about it. But yeah, anyway, until next time, bye.